up here are extremely familiar names and some new names. I'm looking forward to working with our community and for our community and working with David Reeder. If anybody has any questions for us, we'd be happy to answer them, but I know we certainly have a long meeting that we'd like to hear Mr. Earl talk about. So we are always open, our doors are open, our phones are open, emails are always open, and I look forward to working with everybody.
Thank you. Anybody else? Jamie Nichols you're the president-elect, correct, of Sunrise Rotary currently?
Yes, ma'am.
And we have quite a few other Sunrise Rotarians that are on here. Anyone else want to introduce their guest that they have brought?
So it's Brent again. So I'd be remiss. My aunt, Rainey Kirchhoff, is online from Plymouth. So I invited her. So hi, Aunt Rainey.
Hi.
Hi, Aunt Rainey. Nice to see you.
Heather, I'd like to also welcome Delaney. And I'd also think, I know we're not supposed to share happy bucks, but I know that everybody would like to know that Delaney is a Rotaract member where she's going to school. So I think that's a good reason to celebrate.
That is exciting. Thank you. It's worth sharing. Okay, I also see Blythe. I've seen
Hi.
Your United Way, correct, Blythe?
No, Livingston Arts Council.
Livingston Arts Council.
Yeah.
Pat Convery is our honorary member, along with Kathleen Zangers, an honorary that's showing up today. Nathan Vowinkle. I don't know who you are. Do you want to introduce yourself?
I can, yeah. I was invited by, Don Cortez and Brent Earl. I'm a Howell community guy, 3 kids in the Howell School District, a business owner, not with the Howell business, but plenty of other businesses in the state of Michigan and Indiana. So just try to be as active as possible in the community and with the school and the kids. So that's how I got to know Earl.
Well, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Okay, I think I do see a lot of other familiar faces and obviously our current Rotarians, but I just wanted to introduce some people. Anybody else want to introduce themselves?
I could introduce myself real fast.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Ishan. I'm a second year at MSU. I'm actually interning with Congresswoman Slotkin's office, and so Mona invited me to this meeting, so I'm just very excited to be here and go green.
Go white. We appreciate that. Thank you for the introduction. Okay, without further ado, I will turn it over to Brent to introduce our 4 panelists and move forward. I'm excited to hear what they have to say.
All right. Well, if you can, I need the power not to manage the Zoom meeting, but I appreciate the opportunity to put this event on. And so the way it's going to work here is that we're going to do a little bit introduction of the event here, myself and the event. I'm going to show you a 3-minute video to kind of set the stage for the discussion, and then I'll introduce the panel members. So I'll introduce myself for folks that don't know me. I'm a lifelong fifth generation Howell person here on our family farm. I'm currently a board member at Howell Public Schools, and I've been a Rotarian. I had to look it up for 17 years. So I've been active helping the Rotary out for a long time. So let me introduce what we're going to talk about here today, just so we're all on the same page. So this panel discussion is to hear about the positive outcomes of what we all have endured over the past 11 months. So I have talked to friends of mine, and I know that putting the word positive and COVID next to each other, or 2020 for that matter, is a challenge. And that's not something I'm suggesting, that COVID is itself positive or its devastating effect it's had on all of us. What I can suggest is the premise of this discussion and the positive outcomes from hardship that we've all endured in these last, like I said, last 11 months in the major sectors that I've selected to have some representatives to speak to. And that's education, healthcare, law enforcement, and economics in our business community. So we've all discussed positives on the side, a lot of different things that we've experienced over this period of time. And so with all the negative stuff, I could say a few words and I could set people off. I could say 5 words and it would make everybody think a certain way, but we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the outcomes and some of the things that we've learned and some things that we can gain in a positive nature from the different areas that I just mentioned, and how we can benefit from it. So what I want to do first, though, is I'm going to share my positives here in a second, but what I want to do is I'm going to turn my video off here and I'm going to show a video that has captured my, it's captured me, and you may have seen it in the past, but I'm going to share my screen.
Once upon a time, there was a farmer, and this farmer had a horse. He loved this horse so much. It was his pride and joy. This horse helped the farmer earn money for his family. Until one day, the horse ran away. Now everybody in the community, the neighborhood, they heard about what happened to the farmer, so they came running up to the farmer and they said, "Oh my God, your horse, your favorite horse, he ran away. That is so bad." And the farmer, he looks at them and he says, maybe. Next day, horse comes back. But not only does the horse come back, the horse comes back with 3 wild horses with him. Now everybody in the neighborhood, they come back to the farmer and they say, "Oh my God, we heard what happened. So you got 4 horses now? Oh my God, what good luck. That is so good." And the farmer, he looks back at them and he says, maybe. Very next day, farmer's son tries to tame one of the wild horses. Well, a freak accident happens and the horse kicks him off and the son breaks his leg in 3 places. Now everybody in the community, they come up to the farmer and they say, "Oh my God, those stupid horses, look at what they did to your son. That is so bad." And the farmer, he says, maybe. The very next day, the military come to the farm looking for young men to draft to the army. They take one look at the farmer's son and say, "We can't draft him. He's got a broken leg." Well, everybody in the community, they hear about what happened and they run up to the farm and they say, "Oh my God, what good luck. Your son doesn't have to go to the war. Our sons, they got drafted. What good luck you have." And the wise farmer, he looks back at them one last time and says, maybe. I love this story so much. The moral is this: it's so easy for us to develop negative mindsets when something bad, quote unquote bad, happens to us. But good, bad, who knows? Do you really know what's positive or negative when you don't see the full picture, when you can't see the long game? There's so many people who've had failures, losses, and illnesses. And these things have wound up being their greatest teachers because they couldn't have had the perspective that they have now without it. So the next time something quote unquote bad happens to you and somebody says, "Oh man, that really sucks," just be like the farmer. Be patient, be still, and say, maybe. Peace.
Okay, hopefully that kind of set the tone for our discussion today. As many of you know me, I'm a very positive person, and I enjoy focusing on all the positives. And again, I will not diminish or discount or disparage any of the hardships that we have gone through with illness. It is still with us and we endure it every day. And there's not necessarily a however. There's things to learn from what we've experienced. And that's what I'm trying to help everyone share with us today of what they've learned. And so before, Steve Shipley, I'm going to come to you. So Steve Shipley is a Rotarian with all of us. He has worked at auto dealerships over the years, and he contracted the virus and had quite an experience. And I thought I would just say, we're all happy to see Steve Shipley in our screen here. He's got the iPhone with the blue shirt. So Steve, maybe just make a quick comment, just because we're all happy to see you.
Thank you. It's a blessing to be here. It's a lot of prayers. It's a lot of amazing angels that we have working in our community. right over on Byron Road at St. Joseph, Livingston County. Sorry, I get a little emotional.
That's okay.
But it's a blessing to be here. 42 days in the hospital. And I still have positives about 2020. It was a rough year. But I'll tell you what, it's people like you that make this whole thing possible. I look at 2020 and think the police had a rough way, but it sure made 95% of us remember why we need them. Teachers, children now that are missing that socialization, that day-to-day communication from the teacher, from their friends, we sure miss them. Businesses, how in the world can our neighbors survive without money coming into them? And last but certainly not least, what's really opened my eyes was the hospital workers that saved my life. God bless them all. Happy 2020. And John O'Malley, you're an angel, buddy. You and your team are the best. Sorry for the old man crying.
Thanks, Steve. I appreciate
You're welcome, buddy.
appreciate your comments. Happy to see you, like I said earlier, and we'll connect up later to talk more. So thanks, Steve. That's a good opening. So even in the midst of darkness, there's some positivity, like we just saw with Steve there. I'll just share, to get started, I'll just share with a couple of my positive, then I'm going to introduce the panel. So for me, my personal beneficial outcomes for 2020 caused by the pandemic are family time. So for me personally, it was family time, eating together, games together, getting to know my kids better. Not that I necessarily needed to, but I did. I got to know my kids better. The older sisters got to know their youngest sisters. They're 6 years apart. They would have never had that experience had it not been for the time they were able to spend together. Me, not traveling for work. I travel 50% of my time outside of Livingston County. It's been a blessing in disguise. Probably one of the bigger things is slowing down and focusing on what's important. I think we all can think that way. Also, discarding all the junk consumed in my brain. It was just a bunch of stuff that we were able to discard and get rid of. And probably the most important thing, if I were able to take this video out to my garage, it is perfect. It is spotless and it is organized. So many of you probably have similar examples and situations that you've come into of whatever in your life you tried to organize and become a better person. And so I think that's how it's affected me. So enough about me. We're going to talk about our people that are going to join. So if I could have John, Aaron, Joe, and Mike come off of mute, that would be great. So I'm going to introduce each of them, and then we'll get into the discussion. So from amongst these folks, I want to have it be fluid, and then we can get some questions at the end. So anyway, the first person is John O'Malley, as referenced by Steve in his experience. So John is the president at St. Joe Mercy in Livingston, as also the Brighton Health Center since 2016. So I'm happy to have John here. John, we'll just check your mic. Are you on?
I am on. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for joining. And I'm going to start with you at the very beginning, so be prepared. The next person is a person I work with a lot, Aaron McGregor, our superintendent of Howell Public Schools here in Howell. And he's been with us since 2015. It doesn't seem like that long, but man, it's been 5.5 years now. It's amazing having Aaron on board. So happy to have him today. Aaron, checking your mic. Are you there?
Hi, everybody. Good to see you.
All right. And then we've got Joe Parker. Joe, if you don't know him, is a longtime Howell guy. He's an entrepreneur. He's had maybe he can describe it, but and founded C&B Machinery out of Brighton. He created Heart of Howell here in Howell and was the owner and operator of Two Fogs Pub, which we're all anxiously trying to get back to. And he's also an active participant and member of the Cleary University Board of Trustees. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of other things, Joe, but those are the things that I picked up on. Joe, just checking your mic. Are you out there?
Am I working?
Yes, you are. Thanks, Joe.
Most importantly, I'm a father and a grandfather. Love it.
Good point. Last one is Mr. Murphy, Sheriff Mike Murphy. He's been in our community for 30 years now, always working in law enforcement. Mike was Livingston County Under Sheriff for 10 years. He's been our elected Livingston County Sheriff since 2016. He's involved in countless charities and organizations. He was Howell's 2014 Citizen of the Year. So Mr. Murphy, are you out there?
Afternoon, everybody.
All right, I can hear you. Great. All right, so that goes for the introduction. So again, we're staying positive as much as we can. However, you know, this is the panelists. There's been nothing specific, so we'll just ask the question. So I'm going to go down the line and kind of, I've asked each of these folks to give us some of their perspectives and reflections over the past 11 months and try and come up with some things that we can learn from and take forward in a positive manner. So Mr. O'Malley, maybe I'll start with you, and maybe you can kind of give us your kind of first thought as to reflecting back and what your opinion is of something that may have come out that's beneficial for us all.
Yeah, thanks, Brent. And I'll try to go through this quickly. Steve, good to see you. You look great. I know you're going to continue to get better as each day goes on. You know, when Brent asked me to take a look at 3 positive outcomes, experiences, and perhaps even predictions for the future as it relates to the pandemic, I thought, how am I going to do 3 positive outcomes? There's actually a whole lot more than that. And so I'm going to go through these quickly, and certainly willing to answer any questions when we're finished here. But to say that the COVID-19 pandemic has changed the world would really be an understatement. It's upended day-to-day lives across the globe. The pandemic really has changed how we work, how we learn, how we interact, as social distancing guidelines have led to a more virtual existence, both personally and professionally. You know, the pandemic has also changed how we approach our health and healthcare in ways both positive and negative. So from a healthcare perspective, as I take a look at positives, telemedicine in the future, it has a huge benefit to all of us going forward and really has the capability of not only informing, but providing great care at a very low cost, which is something that I know we all are in favor of. We also found out and know that PPE works. It really does. When you take a look at PPE, and now you begin to look at, say, for example, flu. It's non-existent right now today. And the only reason it's non-existent, it isn't so much that we got vaccinated, although that helps tremendously, especially if you hit a home run. But vaccination for the flu is only about 45 to 50% effective from an antibody perspective, where the COVID vaccine is more like 90, 95, so much better. But what's happened is we're social distancing, we have masks on, you know, we're being very, very careful. We're washing our hands. We're doing a lot of things we weren't doing before. So that's been a real positive. Obviously, masks, physical distancing are key. You know, many people, though, I'll tell you, and this isn't so much it's a positive necessarily, but I hear a lot of skepticism in the community. You know, many refuse to change their daily routine or wear masks or keep their distances. And, you know, and that's obviously, you know, you can make those decisions on your own if you so desire. But as healthcare providers, we understand the science behind the recommendations that are being made and have seen firsthand how devastating this virus can be. You know, our job should not only be to help those in need, but to educate those about what we're facing and what tools we have to combat it. You know, there's also no single obvious COVID-19 presentation. So we're seeing everything across the board, which actually is pretty typical of a developmental virus such as this. You know, we've seen a lot of people start taking care of themselves and their colleagues and really thinking about the whole, not the individual being themselves, but thinking about the whole and how we can work together to provide just outstanding care so that our community benefits dramatically. we need to begin to prepare for the next pandemic, which we are doing right now as I stand here today. And one of the big positives, and I know there's been especially in the media, it's like, we don't trust this. You developed it so fast. That's actually not true. But the new vaccine technology has incredible promising potential. Traditional methods for developing vaccines really use live or dead virus DNA to help the body recognize the attack of the virus. These vaccines take longer to develop, and some carry the risk of infecting the patient with the bug, whatever it might be, they were attempting to protect them from. So taking a brief trip back to college biology, you might say, DNA is translated into mRNA, then transcribed into proteins. In the case of the vaccine that we have today that we're administering, these proteins are antigens that the body's immune cell react to. So compared to traditional vaccines, mRNA activates more of the body's immune response and can be manufactured faster. The new COVID-19 vaccines mark the very first time mRNA vaccines have been used in a large-scale setting. So, and really based on these trials, there's just been a huge success so far and huge response to your body's developing antibodies to fight it. This means we'll probably see more mRNA-based vaccines in the future, such as the flu vaccine, which is really a coronavirus vaccine. So this is really a huge advancement for all of healthcare. And the thing is, this has been being worked on since the early 90s. One of the big things that they were able to overcome with the funding of the federal government was the problem with mRNA always in the past was inflammation. They couldn't get inflammation under control. They're able to do that now. And so hence the reason why they were able to come forward with this so quickly. But this has been worked on for a very long period of time. Some of the other things, surprising positive amid these challenges, and Brent mentioned it, forging family connections has been huge. Reevaluating how we spend our time has been big. Reevaluating our life goals. Our spiritual beliefs, strengthening our spiritual beliefs has been huge. And so, I mean, there's just, how about this? Connecting in the kitchen. Have many of us done that here during this pandemic? I know I have. My wife now wants me to cook more. So, I mean, it's just been something that has brought a lot of us and a lot of families together, which I think is incredibly positive. And now I want to just make a some quick comments about predictions. There's good reason to expect a need for ongoing booster shots to protect us against, whatever mutations you're going to see. And you're hearing some of that going on right now. I believe really the SARS-CoV-2 is what we in healthcare call it, is going to stay with humans forever. We're going to have booster shots adapted to this virus like we do the flu and many viruses most likely that are on the horizon. It's the same thing. They're both mRNA viruses, and we're going to have to live with this forever. This potentially strengthens the immune response against emerging strains. So what we're going to have to figure out going forward right now is what that really means. Is it just a one shot a year, and hopefully they can continue the development so it covers many viruses? That's our hope going forward right now. In all honesty, I think the virus is expected to continue spreading and mutating for quite some time, primarily because we cannot get the vaccine in enough people fast enough. That makes controlling the virus really a first step, but quite a distance from completely wiping it out. I don't believe we should start setting elimination or eradication of the virus as the bar for success. The bar for success is really reducing the capacity of this virus to kill, to put people in the hospital, to destroy our economic and social lives. That's really the bar you want. You're really never going to eradicate the virus. and there'll be many more to come yet. And there'll be most likely another pandemic. Not to be a Debbie Downer, but that's what we need to get ready for. And I'm glad to see Mona's on. That's what the government has to get ready for as well. We need to work together to make sure that going forward and in the future, we can adequately, at a high level of confidence, care for the communities, and our businesses and our government can react quickly enough to effectively do that. And so with that, Brent, I'm going to pass it back on to you.
Okay.
There's a lot of information there, and I'm happy to address any questions at the appropriate time.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it. Aaron, I'm going to come to you next, and then followed by Joe Parker, and then Mike Murphy. I'll have you back clean up. So, Aaron, I'm just going to pass the baton over to you and give us your thoughts.
All right, thanks, Brent. Hey, everybody. So just a couple thoughts before I get going. And John, you were kind of breaking up when you said the next pandemic. So I think I didn't quite hear that clearly. I just want to make sure that, so we're not going there yet. Just a little bit of background. As far as, jumping into positives about 2020, I just want to reiterate what Brent said about COVID-19 has had an impact on our families. It's had an impact on our staff. It's had an impact on our students. And by no means by me sharing some of the things that I think have made us better moving forward, do I discount what an impact it has had on a lot of our family here in the Howell Public Schools. A little bit of background on me, just real quick. Starting my 6th year here in the district. Crazy that's been that long. A lot more gray hair last year, but it starting the 6th year. And then I do have 3 kids in the district. My daughter's a sophomore and my twins are in 6th grade. So I certainly come to this education perspective with a dad hat on as well. I referenced my positives from a professional standpoint, just to kind of stick with the educational experience that I had this year. My first one is the importance of finding balance. And to share that kind of story with you, I'm going to take you back to August 3rd of this summer. August 3rd was at the conclusion of a summer that was moving really fast, a lot of planning in place. I was bringing forward a preparedness and response plan on how to get our kids back to school. And that August 3rd date was when the board was going to take action on that plan. And it was moved to the field house of our high school because of the number of people that wanted to come. We had about 100 people in the field house during COVID. We also had about 100 people on Zoom, all sharing with us very emotional feedback, understandably so. Everything from, we cannot bring our kids back to school, it's unsafe. We cannot bring our staff back to school, it's unsafe, to, I'm not sending my kids to school with all these safety protocols in place. So the continuum of emotions and concern, all understandable, was huge. It was a huge continuum. So ultimately on that evening of August 3rd, the board approved that plan. It is not a perfect plan. We have been living that plan for 7 months now. We've had bumps along the way. But my point with finding balance is we were able to find a balance as a team to say, during a pandemic, we're going to take into account safety procedures that need to be in place, but we're also going to account for the needs of our kids, the mental health of our kids, the need for kids to connect. We've had kids that were out of school. Just to give you a little bit of perspective, there's about 1.2 million students in the state of Michigan. Half of those students have not seen the inside of a classroom since March 12th of last year. So we have 600,000 students across the state of Michigan that have not been in a school setting since March 12th. So when I was approaching this work, I looked at it as, we can balance both. We can balance the fact that, yes, we're in a pandemic that's taking people's lives and it's extremely impactful, but at the same time, the needs of our kids had to be elevated. And so I just wanted to bring those two things to kind of the same level and have that conversation there. And again, ultimately find the balance of how we could get kids back in school. So I'm really proud of what we've accomplished. Again, I think moving forward as we approach new challenges, because we will have more challenges as a school district, I know that we're going to be able to then find that balance, because I do believe that there's always, again, understandable concerns on both sides, but there's a way to find that balance. And I think truly, not to toot our own horn here, but I think we could be a model in the state, not only from an educational perspective, but also from a country that is pretty divided right now. And I think that you can find common ground, as much as when we watch the media and social media and all those things, it's hard to find that common ground. I think our example of this past 7 months has been a way of finding common ground. There's some board members on this. So just real quick before I move on to or Brent moves on, want to thank Brent, want to thank Stacy Pacini, our board president, want to thank Courtney Terrar, our board treasurer, and Christy Kahn's on here as our board secretary. Instrumental in getting us back in person. And I just wanted to thank them very much for their leadership of what's been not a year that they probably anticipated being on the board. So thanks, Brent. I'll turn it back over, share my next two as it comes around.
Okay. Thanks, Aaron. Appreciate that. Joe, we're going to jump to you. Your thoughts looking back and looking forward.
Okay. Well, my first thought was these guys got the easy ones. When you're looking at business, it's so widespread. So I had a hard time coming up with the way to answer this, so I'm probably not going to give you what you were looking for necessarily. But I mean, if you look at the market, you go up there and how great it is, but the real economy's not there. And you can start with the big boys, and you can go down to my lifestyle, the street world of business in Howell and Brighton and Livingston County. And the people that I work with, other small business owners that we have our discussions. And I think the biggest positive that is coming out of all of this is opportunity. And I know it sounds really weird, but you know, over my lifetime, I've always preached never waste a good recession and never waste a good recovery. And you got to find opportunities and things that make the bad times good. And you know, a lot of people, first thing they want to talk about is the PPP, the CARES package. They want to talk about all the stimulus and stuff like that. And that's wonderful stuff. But it's also what you do with it and how you handle that kind of help. And some of the people I've dealt with and the things that we work at is small business owners are all
Someone's muted. 1 second, please, Joe.
They have time to develop their business. And,
Did everyone mute
and their
themselves?
employees now, they're at home and they're not working and they're collecting unemployment. And I think these are opportunities right now that we need to take a look at as small business owners and look at doing the ultimate research, looking at finding better suppliers, better products. Quality is going to be huge in the future. And all these small business owners now also need to educate and train their employees. And I think that's something that, and if you look at it, and it sounds really simple, it sounds like it's over and over again, but you're getting paid to do that. I mean, your employees can sit at home and be paid to do research and find new products. We helped a company about 7-8 weeks ago save close to 18% on their costs in some of the products just by going online and doing more research. And if you're trying to make some money, that's how you do it. And if you're a small business owner, and how many of us have said it, that I don't have time, I can't keep up. Well, right now you're being supported. You know, your rent's being paid, your utilities are being paid. You have the time. And if you're working from home, you're saving 1 to 2 hours. It's finding all those little niches and all those little bit of things that you can utilize to grow your own company. And we've actually helped people leave their businesses because they were unhappy and it wasn't what their future is and it wasn't what their family wanted. And, you know, now they've had this family time and they've been able to redirect. So to me, it all comes down to opportunities. And one of the opportunities I'm looking at right now with several people is going into a prediction a little bit. You know, 2021, I think we're looking at real, the economy, a real economy taking off, you know, where you've got the service industry and stuff like that's going to be taking back off, where, you know, you've seen the market popped up by all the big guys. Now it's going to come down to, you know, the real GDP, the people who employ people that we're going to take off. And we've got these opportunities being missed where people are sitting there saying, I can't afford to do this. I can't afford to do inventory and stuff like that. Now's the time you need to do that. You got spring coming. You got vaccines rolling out to a certain level, a certain degree, and things are going to start taking up. You have a lot of pent-up demand. And I believe there's an opportunity for small businesses right now to position themselves to when this is getting there, and it's going to be there, that they bought better quality products, lower cost products, and they've stocked up and they've inventoried up and they train their people and they're ready to open their doors and they're going to flourish. My biggest fear, some of the people I've talked to, is that they're in it to survive. And if you're talking survival mode right now, the truth is you might make 2021, but you're not going to survive as a business person. You're not going to be that happy camper that you're trying to create by owning your own business. So trying to survive is not the key. Getting ready right now for spring and summer, for the vaccines rolling out, for things getting better, I think that's where we need to be. And you have to take advantage of opportunities. And one of the opportunities right now is to allow all the stimulus, all the PPP, the CARES, stuff like that, to help you have the time to train your employees, train yourself, look for opportunities, cut costs, go better quality, and prepare yourself for what's coming. And that is a true underlining better economy for 2021. It might not actually take place till Q3, but I do believe that's where we're going. I don't know if that helps, but that's my outlook.
Thank you, Joe. That does help. A lot of good nuggets of positivity in there. I appreciate that. Mixed in with reality, so it's also appreciated. Mr. Murphy, Mr. Sheriff Mike Murphy, your 3 cents.
Yeah, right on. So I made a couple notes as you were talking in the introduction and as everybody else was talking. And I'm very much of an optimist too. And I think it was during well, I don't know, Brent, maybe when you opened up, the thought that came to mind for me was whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right. And I think a lot of what happened in 2020 was just negative thought, right? We were self-fulfilling prophecies on a lot of stuff, gloom and doom. And I think Aaron mentioned the divisiveness and whatever. That's just, if you think that, it becomes reality, right? So I think we really need to start focusing on positive stuff. And when it comes to working together, I don't know of a county anywhere really in the United States, but certainly in the state of Michigan that works as well together as Livingston County does. And it doesn't matter if you're talking about the service providers or nonprofits, the school districts, the public safety, the businesses, you name it. We're all in this thing together and we all work together, and and we can overcome anything. It's just that simple. And when there are those challenges out there, that is, as Joe mentioned, that's just opportunity, right? If you, oh my gosh, the sky's falling, well, guess what? The sky's going to fall. But if you look at it as opportunity. So a couple more comments, when I was growing up, I didn't have many rules. Well, I had a lot of rules in the house, but didn't have really that many. The big one was you'll be home for dinner. And that is, I think, one thing that has come out of this, as Brent mentioned earlier too, people getting back together. We say, hey, we got to keep our kids busy because idle time makes for, idle mischief. But I think we got way too busy, right? Where, mom and dad are going 200 different directions, kids going 200 different directions. You're never meeting to sit down and have good conversations. So I would hope that we could get back to that. We're doing a lot of stuff technologically with screen time, but if I could wave my magic wand, there would be a limit on screen time, because again, it goes back into that whole negativity thing, right? Where people get caught up on Facebook or the internet, and then pretty soon they look and it's 4 hours later and they haven't even, left their screen. That's not healthy, you guys, but all right, I digress there. So a few things here at the Sheriff's Office. When we were locked down initially, right in March, one of the things that we did previous to 2020 was we established a community outreach group, and that consisted of 4 deputies. Actually, one's tied in with LESA, and then 3 others. Those deputies spent about a month and a half. Actually, I think it was 2 months over at Gleaners boxing food, because Gleaners lost all of their help, right? Everybody's locked down. Nobody wants to go anywhere, et cetera, et cetera. So my guys and gals boxed tens of thousands of pounds of food for Gleaners. That's not a cop job, right? But that's what needed to be done, and that's what we did. And that was the whole point in that whole community service or community outreach group. The other thing that we did is I've got a detective bureau. We're mandated services. Well, for the first month or so, there wasn't any crime. Well, there was crime going on, but nobody reported it, right? Because everybody's locked down. But I've got a detective bureau that's kind of sitting there, not doing a whole lot. So they were delivering medication and meals to shut-ins. Again, not necessarily a cop thing, but that was one of the things we did. So from a positivity standpoint, what it taught my folks here is kind of my vision with the whole community involvement thing. And hey, listen, it's not all about arresting the bad guys. It's not all about writing tickets. It's not all about police work. It's truly about community. So there was a lot of light bulbs that went on in my folks' head, quite frankly, which was a good thing. It also, and I think Joe mentioned this too, the opportunity just to stop and look at your organization. I couldn't be happier with the undersheriff that I brought in to fill my shoes, and the administrative team that we've got together here at the sheriff's office. And we do look at things all the time to see how we can make ourselves better, but it really gave us even more time to do that because the day-to-day stuff wasn't going on. One of the things that I think gets lost when it comes to public safety is the fact that we're 24/7, right? I mean, we never ever shut down. So in my world, one day is really worth 3. So if you think about that from a business standpoint, there's very few businesses that are open 24/7. So they have normal business hours, right? So you have a chance to kind of think about the day and decompress and whatever. When I leave and I come back the next day, 2 days have gone by, if that makes sense, right? So it makes it more difficult to kind of look at your organization and plan to see where you want to go. Plus, you got to, we're about 170 full-time equivalents with the whole organization, it's just it's difficult sometimes. But it gave us an opportunity to do that for sure. I think it brought us, as a result, it brought us together. I mentioned this before too, that the deputies got a chance to see the vision a little bit better. It gave us an opportunity to bond a little bit closer too. I give my little speech when I hire in the new guys and gals, that it's a family. It's a little dysfunctional at times, just like any family, but it's a family. But it was able to bring us, I think, closer together as a family. I didn't hear maybe the entire time 3 or 4 grumbles probably in 6 months, from let's say March to 6 months, maybe 3 or 4 grumbles about just stuff in general, what was going on. My men and women just did what they needed to do. They all knew that we were in this together, and we took suggestions from anybody. If anybody had and you guys, I'm not telling you nothing you don't know. Things were changing by the minute sometimes. And we took suggestions from the part-time janitor, right on up to the undersheriff. And, it was, we're all in this again together on one big team. So it really brought us together a lot more. And lastly, and then we'll, I guess, open up to questions, whatever. But one of the things that we were working towards was a new building here. This building was built now we just did a jail expansion, so don't confuse that, but our existing building was built in 1972 as an original jail. It's very, very tired. We put a lot of lipstick on this pig, and it's still a pig. So we were working towards either a major renovation or even a new building here on the facility. Well, given what we've been through here, it's really opened our eyes to remote workstations, because we are a service provider. So there's a lot of people that come here, but not all of our staff has to be here, right? So my finance gal, she's worked from home since March, and the list goes on and on and on. The deputies, we're working towards, as a matter of fact, tonight we go in front of the board. We're working towards remote stations and adding some patrol cars so the men and women can leave from home and start from home. Because one of the things that we learned during this thing was we altered our shift changes so we didn't have everybody in the same building at the same time. Because God forbid, if we have one deputy get COVID, that's probably going to end up with a whole locker room full of deputies getting COVID, right? And the list goes on. So we have made ourselves more efficient use of our building and getting people out of here, that we can probably just continue to put a little bit more lipstick on this thing for a while and not go out and spend 11, 12 million bucks on a new building. Or I think the cost was like 9 or 10 for a remodel. So anyways, I'll shut up now and open it up to questions, I guess.
Thanks, Mike. I'm going to go one time through in case something came to your mind. So I'll start with you, John, here in a second. If you
Can I
want to
say
ask,
something too?
please.
I just want to add, this is an amazing discussion. I think everyone is really enjoying it, and I don't know that we'll get this group of experts together again. I would like to extend at least 15 minutes and allow people to do some Q&A as long as the panelists are available. And you can write your questions in the chat. It's been being utilized, which is great. And yeah, I just want to make sure if you need to leave, feel free, but I just would like to utilize these resources while we have them available. So I just want to let everybody know that.
Thanks, Heather. If you can monitor the chat, that'd be great. That would help me out. And then also, if you want to, you could raise your hand as well in the reaction section if you want to ask a question directly. So I'm gonna go back through it, John, if I could start with you. Anything that you didn't add that you've thought of now that we've gone through it once? Anything you'd like to add to your comments from earlier?
Yeah, you know, the one thing I realized I was incredibly remiss, and on all honesty, I don't remember who mentioned it, but you know, Livingston County being just a wonderful and great community, and rallying around, and when things go awry, and obviously things have been awry since February, March. One of the first things that happened was the use of personal protective equipment went through the roof. Now, you know, we're part of Trinity Health, so we have large warehouses that serve Trinity Health nationally. We're a national healthcare organization. And so you can imagine we're all pulling on that same cord, you might say, and we ran out quickly. I mean, we were having to figure out how to re-sterilize masks and gloves and all gowns and all kinds of things, and make our own face shields. The community here in Livingston County stepped up big. They started making masks. They started making face shields. They started making gowns, and you know, the dentists who had to shut down brought over their PPE to us. And so it was so heartfelt to see that happening when, you know, we put the word out that we're running out. We don't have enough. And, you know, we're really hoping that, as Joe, I think, might have been alluding to, opportunities that we can bring some of this manufacturing back into the United States here, away from China. Because if I told you at one point what Trinity Health had to pay to get masks, it is ridiculous. And not to mention the plane we had to send overseas to pick it up and bring it back. And that was a collaboration of 5 major health systems in the United States. So we've got to bring some of that back. But kudos to Livingston County and the businesses and the people that stepped up and helped us out tremendously in the first probably 4 or 5 months of the pandemic.
Thank you, John. I'm gonna go right back down the same order. Aaron, any additional comments?
Sure, just real quick, I'm going to piggyback off of what John and both Mike and John said. And then one addition, as far as the county coming together, 4 other school superintendents in the county, we've collaborated since March on this. To our community members who help feed our families, we still are doing food distributions twice a week to our families, and it's being utilized a lot. So that doesn't just happen. That happens because we've collaborated as a county. So thank you to all of you for that. Other just, you know, positives, the quick changes that we were able to make as an organization, I think proved to us as a system that, you know, I work in an educational system that largely hasn't changed a whole lot in 150 years, honestly. And so we're not known for real quick changes. And just a quick story to show you how quick we had to do things. This past summer, we were given the state roadmap to how we were going to get back in person on June 30th. I brought my core team together, which was all my key leaders in the district, on July 7th and said, hey guys, we need to develop a virtual school for 1,200 kids. We need to go to a block schedule for middle and high schools. We need to rearrange the entire master schedule for 400 teachers. We need to train our teachers on over 100 safety protocols. And we have until August 19th to do that. And so we had 5 weeks to do those things that I mentioned that truly take months and years to do in our world. And so coming out of this and then saying, hey, we're ready to go. We were the first district in the state to start. Us and Heartland were the first two in the state. And so coming out of this, knowing that we can make those changes, I think has proven to us of like, let's keep going. Let's keep going on some changes that are going to be good for kids and move our system forward. So that's been really good. And I'll pause there. I know there's others that need to chime in.
Thanks, Aaron. Joe, anything that came to mind? Any other items you want to bring up?
Well, sure. You know me, I'll talk forever. I think one of the other opportunities here, if we would have known a year ago how long this was going to last and how bad I was going to get, is continuing education, not only for a business owner, but for employees or individual people. Last week, I ran into a young lady. I was working with her a little bit and found out she was getting $1,120 a week unemployment, a week, which is kind of crazy because if you add 4 of those together, she's making more money than I'm getting on Social Security, and I get to max out on Social Security. I mean, it's just driving me nuts that she's getting that. But if you look at it, if you're sitting at home, if I had a child at home, sitting at home, collecting that kind of unemployment, or even a spouse necessarily a little younger than we are right now, continuing going into that non-traditional, getting that education and readjusting for your business, for your future. I think now's a good time to be investing into continued education right in our own backyard. Clear University, Brent brought it up earlier, as a business university, enrollment's up. People are starting to redefine and take another look at and take a look at opportunities and again, driven by family and value and what they really want to do in their life and how they want to handle it. So I think continuing your education right now for a lot of people is an opportunity that they should look at, especially if you've got an hour or two every day from not having to commute. You're getting subsidized to stay home, stuff like that. I mean, wouldn't take too much to make that pay off.
Thank you, Joe. Great, awesome comments and advice for all of us. Sheriff Murphy, any additional thoughts too?
Well, I think Joe was a politician in his former life because he likes to talk as much as I do. Seriously. One thing that I did miss is on the jail side of things, you know, a whole bunch of policies. Our facility's never been cleaner, but we always had a really good relationship with our medical provider there, but that was, of course, even more strengthened during this time. So that was another awesome outcome. And I don't know that I think cops are right there with teachers when it comes to change. You know, if you would have told us, you know, a year ago that we were going to do, you know, 1, 2, and 3. I'd have had a mutiny on my hands, but you know what? As they say, what is it? Crisis is the mother of invention, or something like that. I mean, we did it, and we did change extremely fast. Last thing I want to mention, just on a positive note, I'm looking at the screen. Most everybody's here is a little older, so you'll appreciate this. I cannot be on a Zoom call, and I'm going to put this in your head, so now it's going to be in your head too. I cannot be in a Zoom call without seeing the Hollywood Squares and the Muppets. Remember that, the Muppets? So the next time you're on a Zoom, think of the Muppets. All right, that's it.
Thanks, Mike. I don't know how to react to that one, but that's good. Heather, I haven't looked at the chat room.
There is one question in the chat first. It's from Nathan Volwinky. He was addressing this to Joe and then Aaron McGregor. But Joe, you talked about employees. They need employees at all levels of work, most importantly in construction. Is there any advice that you would have in that sector? And Aaron, is there any opportunity for us business owners to talk to students about work opportunities? So start with Joe.
Well, I can tell you employees are always going to be an issue, especially with some of the stimulus and the unemployment and other things are going on at all. There's multiple layers there. I'll tell you how bad it is for C&B Machinery. You know, we're a global supplier, global partner with Ford Motor and stuff like that. I actually found myself getting 3 oil changes in 1 week because I was actually driving to oil change places to watch these mechanics work on my car. And then when they all got done, I mean, if they did everything right, they checked the air pressure, they showed me the dipstick, and I saw how they handle themselves, I'd offer them a job. I mean, right there. I mean, I was driving around just looking for employees. It's difficult. It's difficult, especially in construction and somewhat in manufacturing, because we don't have the flexible hours, and there's a lot of demand for travel outside of the state and outside of the country. Employees are always going to be tough. There's no quick solution to that at all. I wish I could wave a magic wand because it would help me out as well. So the only thing I can tell you is what we offer. It killed us at first, but we offer 100% medical coverage for the employee and the family, 100% dental, 100% optical, and 100% match for 401k. And with the younger people, it doesn't necessarily help. But as you get into young families and stuff like that, and they're looking at insurance and looking at the way things are, healthcare and offering healthcare is great. It's a write-off. You don't have to match a tax to it. You don't have to pay workman's comp on it. And we have actually found that we can scale down salary or hourly pay. We can actually scale that down by offering these benefits that most people are charging them for anyway. And there's all kinds of tricks out there. But if you can attack the home front, the spouses and the children, and give them some kind of security, I think that we've had great success in doing that, instead of, giving $1 or $2 here and there, but by giving them solid health care and support in that way. So I suggest you look at that, and you could actually save some money that way as well.
And Nate, to your question about talking to our students about business opportunities, absolutely. Unfortunately, we always do a career talk every year that has grown in interest in both from our students and our business community. Unfortunately, that looks a little different this year with not as many guests coming into our buildings. So we're trying to figure, our counseling team right now is trying to figure out how we can capture some of those things virtually, like we're doing everything else. But yes, the short answer is we definitely have opportunities for our businesses to talk to our kids and provide opportunities to them, and also just hear about different career paths. So I can be in touch with you on that, Nate.
Yeah, that was my focus, was more and sorry to unmute and talk, but we stress about job opportunities after we get through college. And so we've got this, main focus of a lot of kids just feeling like they need to go to college to make something happen. I think Elon Musk has been pretty forward now with saying college education doesn't so much matter, but really giving kids that are in between the high school and college the opportunity to know that there are businesses out there that can be a very high and paying career for them, as long as they get a start early in it. And all my friends and buddies that own construction companies and such, they just can't find good quality work anymore. And it's a learned experience, but I was more so just on enlightening kids that before they get to college, that they don't quite, that there's an opportunity for them if college isn't the right thing, I guess, is what I was talking about.
Thanks, Nate. Appreciate that. And unfortunately, Steve Grono, his spell check's not working, but Chestnut Development Company is hiring high school grads. So I'll let everybody know that. Heather, were there any more questions in the chat?
No, so we can open it up to the general floor if anyone wants, and no worries about unmuting. Feel free. So.
Yep.
Can I say goodbye and thank you real quick? I have a 1 o'clock Zoom that I need to get to, which I'm already late. Thank you all very much. Great 2021.
Thanks, Joe. Any questions other for the 3 panelists, not Joe? Oh, all right. Well, we got a quiet group.
Yeah. Well, give me the full option to unmute. This could get long.
Well, I'll stall for another second. If anyone wants to jump in, please do. But I appreciate that. I'll say thank you, and then maybe I'll say thank you twice. But thank you to Joe, who already left. He doesn't get a chance to hear this. He lived through 2020 at a like he said earlier, automotive supplier, as well as retail and the two fogs. And then Aaron, I worked with you since the beginning of this thing on March 6th was my memory. And so it's been a long road. Thank you for joining us today. John O'Malley, thanks for all. I'm so happy of all the laundry list of items that you brought up today. So thank you, John. And then Sheriff Murphy, you're always a treat to give us your 3 cents of what's going on in the world. And it was very informative, and we appreciate for that. And Steve Shipley, thank you also for your comments and your positivity of everything that you went through. And we're so happy that you're feeling well. I'll take a pause here. Was there anyone want to jump in with a question before we close the meeting? Heather, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you so much, Brent. I think we're all super excited about how well this went. We did record it, and I will figure out with my more tech-savvy Zoom friends how to get this listed on our Facebook page or somewhere where others can watch it later. So also, we had an amazing attendance. I know some people had to get off, but at peak, we had about 55 people on this call. So that's awesome, bringing the community together for this. I just wanted to announce to all people who are here and would like to attend maybe some future Rotary meetings, we do meet at noon. This is the link every single time. So if you have it in your emails now, you can get on this link at noon on Mondays and you can see our faces. Next week, we have our very own Carol Griffith speaking about the real estate market and industry and how that is doing. If you're thinking about selling a house, buying a house, or just want to know how Livingston County is doing, check in. Followed by our Interact, which is the local service organization at Howell High School. They're going to be speaking to us the following Monday. And at the end of the month in February, we're winding out with Lansing Community College president speaking to us about that aspect of what's going on in our community. So I think we have some pretty exciting things coming up as far as presentations are concerned. If you want to learn any more about Rotary, you can reach out to any of the Rotarians on the call. So because I am ready to wrap it up, I will do the 4-way test and prove that I do know it myself. The 4-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Number 1, is it the truth? Number 2, is it fair to all concerned? Number 3, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And number 4, is it beneficial to all concerned? Thank you all so much for joining us this day. I have my Howell Rotary bell and I will ring us out.
Thanks, Heather.
Great day, everybody.
Thank you.
Hey, Brent.